is Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit found dead in his Atlanta home along with his wife and young son.
They say they cannot believe this has happened.
What role steroids played in the Benoit murder-suicide, the tragedy has made clear. Both
I have battled and lost.
The Chris Benoit tragedy case continues to haunt wrestling, and questions about the case still remain unanswered about who knew about the horrific crimes before the police. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the mystery of the Wikipedia edits. On Monday 25th June 2007, police discovered the bodies of Chris Benoit, wife Nancy, and their 7-year-old son Daniel. It didn't take authorities long to rule the case a murder-suicide, but nearly 13 years later, there are elements in the case that lead some people to cry conspiracy. These include the bizarre situation where someone posted that Nancy Benoit had been murdered at least 13 hours before the police discovered the bodies. The details of the crime have been covered in our Behind the Titantron series, but people continue to talk about one of the most incredible aspects of the case: the fact that someone altered Chris Benoit's Wikipedia page before the tragedy was public. The edit was made on 25th June at 12:01 AM and read, "Chris Benoit was replaced by Johnny Nitro for the ECW Championship match at Vengeance, as Benoit was not there due to personal issues stemming from the death of his wife Nancy." Even before the police discovered the body at 2:30 PM in the afternoon, a good 14.5 hours later. As you probably know, Wikipedia is an online encyclopedia, but more importantly, it is written collaboratively by largely anonymous volunteers who write without pay. Anyone with internet access can write and make changes to Wikipedia articles, except in limited cases where editing is restricted to prevent disruption or vandalism. As such, this means that anyone can edit or add entries to Wikipedia, with some restrictions as editors have locked certain pages for various reasons, including vandalism. Wikipedia's editors strive to include sources for information contained in its articles. This came into play when the Benoit article was changed and the tragedy surrounding Nancy Benoit was mentioned before it became public knowledge. As noted by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, according to a timeline posted on Wikinews, which is the source of the non-profit foundation, within an hour of the 12:01 post, the edit had been changed with the comment, "Need a reliable source," saying that his wife died is a pretty big statement. You need to back it up with something. Another hour went by, then a second anonymous edit using what appears to be an Australian internet service provider added the attribution, according to several pro wrestling websites. Again, the edit was changed after 20 minutes with the comment, saying several pro wrestling websites is not reliable information. The changes to the Benoit article caught at least one editor's attention, hence the request that the person who posted it provide documentation, i.e. a source. As noted by Astoria Entertainment News, the online encyclopedia allows anyone to update entries, but the additions must be vetted by site administrators. According to the article, Wikipedia was notified about the eerie post, and Wikipedia contacted Fayetteville Police around 11 AM. Wikipedia.org said the posting went live on their site on Monday at 12:01 AM Eastern Standard Time. Police, however, say they found the bodies Monday at 2:30 PM Eastern Daylight Time. Wikipedia subsequently locked Benoit's page while the case was being investigated. The post proved problematic for the police investigating the tragedy. According to a report by ABC News, "It is unbelievable what a hindrance this has put on our investigation," said Lieutenant Tommy Pope, a spokesman for the Fayette County GA Sheriff's Department. "We've got to put a lot of effort and time into working to prove or disprove that someone put up a hoax situation or that somebody was conceiving the death from out of state." Pope said, adding that investigators have been flooded with tips regarding a web posting that's very likely a bizarre coincidence. While it may have been a coincidence, it led to speculation about what the person may have known. Most troubling was that the person's internet protocol, aka IP address, came from Stamford, Connecticut, home to the WWE's headquarters. An IP address can be hidden, but eventually it was revealed to have come from Stamford. On 29th June 2007, the person who edited the Chris Benoit page posted the following message at Wikipedia's Wiki news site. "Last weekend, I heard about Chris Benoit no-showing at Vengeance because of a family emergency, and I had heard rumors about why that was. I was reading rumors and speculation about this matter online, and one of them included that his wife may have passed away, and I did the wrong thing by posting it on Wikipedia despite there being no evidence. I posted my speculation on this situation at the time, and I was just as shocked as everyone when I heard this actually would happen in real life. It was one of those things that just turned into a huge coincidence. By then, the police claimed they knew who the poster was, later revealed as one Matthew Greenberg, and according to an ABC News story, this was not the first time Wikipedia had been vandalized by someone at the same IP address. The IP address from which the first Wikipedia edition and subsequent confession was made has been flagged for vandalizing other Wikipedia entries in the past, including a racist edit about troubled NBA star Ron Artest. According to an Associated Press article from 3rd July 2007, the police discovered the man who edited Benoit's page was a 19-year-old man who lived in Stamford, Connecticut with his parents. The man allowed detectives to take his computer and videotape their interview with him Friday. Police said he was very cooperative, said Captain Richard Conklin, head of the Detective Bureau. He will not face charges, police said. It appears the posting was a coincidence. The Stamford mystery seemed resolved quickly, but it would not go away thanks to an inquisitive reporter. So who was the individual who edited the Wikipedia page a second time? According to the Sydney Morning Herald, the edit has since been traced to a computer hooked up to the Australian-based wireless internet service provider Unwired. The Herald understands that the computer belongs to a Sydney resident. Incredibly, this would be the extent of any investigation into the second edit. While the second post taking place thousands of miles away may seem bizarre, consider the following. According to reporter Irv Muchnick, WWE.com's chat room contained an interesting discussion by several people. The chats began at 9:41 p.m. on Sunday and contained this exchange. Jupiter, Benoit's wife is dead. Job the illusionist, Chris Benoit is a murderer. The comments continued. Job the illusionist, Benoit killed his wife, like that N-word in Ohio. Clearly, more than one person began to speculate about why Benoit didn't appear at Vengeance pay-per-view. Indeed, according to Irv Muchnick, Gob the Illusionist was found to be Sheldon Chandler, a fan in Orlando, Florida. Some people was really trying to guess where he wasn't there. Some people were really trying to guess why he wasn't there, but some were just making things up or why he wasn't there, just joking around. Usually when people are joking around, I join in and I always try to make up the most outrageous thing I could think of, and just all of a sudden what came to my mind was to type that Benoit killed his wife, like that guy in Ohio did. Anyone who goes online knows people will say the craziest things just to try and get a few laughs or a reaction. It's entirely possible that the Wikipedia edits and the WWE.com chat room conversations are all coincidences. However, there are several items about the Wikipedia edits and the Benoit investigation itself that caused Irv Muchnick to raise questions about the competence of the investigation into the edits. The big question is whether Matthew Greenberg had some inside information of what happened at Benoit's home. Muchnick argues the Stamford police did a bare-bones job investigating Greenberg's edit and may have even done so intentionally. One of the most important pieces in the puzzle involves when the WWE became aware of text messages from Chris Benoit to Chavo Guerrero Jr. and Scott Armstrong. In the early morning hours of Sunday, June 24th, Benoit sent cryptic text messages containing his physical address in unincorporated Fayetteville, but little else to fellow wrestler Chavo Guerrero and referee Scott Armstrong. According to WWE, company executives didn't become aware of the messages until Monday afternoon. You're probably asking yourself what the connection is between Greenberg and the text. In his book, Chris and Nancy, The True Story, Muchnick questions just when the WWE knew about the text. While the scope of this video doesn't permit a full examination of Muchnick's questions, he asks whether the WWE sent anyone to the Benoit residence before the bodies were discovered. If the WWE did, it's possible they knew about the tragedy far too soon than they claimed, and the company would want to hide his knowledge for public relations purposes, especially as the WWE ran a Chris Benoit tribute on Raw the next night. For purposes of this video, the main question is whether Greenberg had any connection with Chavo Guerrero. As we've seen, Greenberg was notorious for vandalizing Wikipedia entries, but in one case, he removed offensive comments from Chavo's Wikipedia page, leading some to think there may be a link between Chavo and Greenberg, the insinuation being Chavo may have tipped Greenberg about the text. Muchnick investigated the Stamford police investigation of Greenberg, which included a videotaped interrogation. Muchnick questioned the thoroughness of the investigation, pointing out he couldn't accept at face value the Fayette County report's bland assurance that Stamford PD forwarded a bland assurance that Matt Greenberg was harmless. This conclusory statement seemed especially inadequate when it became apparent that language in a supplemental report claiming that a copy of the Stamford PD interview of Greenberg was included in the case file was at best misleading. When pressed, Detective Ethan Harper conceded that he and other officers wrote their reports without ever viewing the complete Greenberg interrogation, which is on videotape. When Muchnick asked for a copy of the videotape, he saw it cut out just 3 minutes into the interview. After much legal wrangling, Muchnick obtained the full video and it can be found on YouTube. Why would the police department make it so difficult to obtain a video? Ultimately, Irv Muchnick raises some important questions that have yet to be answered. The chance that Matthew Greenberg didn't just guess but stumbled on a silver of inconvenient truth cannot be rejected out of hand. Did he have an acquaintance with Chavo Guerrero, whose Wikipedia page he had cleaned up? No one asked Greenberg. Did he have a friend or relative who worked for WWE or one of its contractors? No one asked. What was the specific language of the post that inspired his wiki edit about Nancy Benoit dying? And on what discussion boards did he read it? The cops in WWE's home city appear to have barely lifted a finger to find out the answers of any of these questions. As Muchnick points out, there was no investigation into the Australia edit either. The WWE's apparent ability to spin criminal investigations their way can be seen with the 1980s case involving the investigation into Jimmy Snuka's alleged involvement in the death of his girlfriend Nancy Argentino. Was there any pressure on Stamford police to quickly write off the Wikipedia edits? Was it a shoddy investigation, or was it as thorough as one could expect? Whether Matthew Greenberg made a Wikipedia edit about the Benoit case without any knowledge of the case is certainly possible. However, there is the possibility that Greenberg knew someone in the WWE and was tipped off that something was amiss, but we may never know as the Stamford police quickly dismissed it as a coincidence. Where this is questionable are the errors found in the investigation by reporter Irv Muchnick. There you have it, guys, a look at the bizarre case of the Wikipedia edit that seemingly showed knowledge of the Benoit tragedy before the police did. Do you think these questions have been answered, or should they be looked into further? Let us know in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.